How's it going, YouTubers and Instagrammers? Welcome to my next video on Sterling on Cinemas. That's Cinemas with an S. And today, it is my very pleasure to share my review on Toy Story 2 as part of the Pixar series on Tuesdays. Now, before I begin, if you are new to this video, like I said, don't you forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on the section below, click that bell to keep up to date with all things Sterling on Cinemas, and most importantly, watch. And the same thing goes for you as if you're on Instagram. Follow, share, like, leave a comment on the section below if you have anything to share about the film or anything you love about the film. And watch to the very end on IGTV series. Let's get to it. So, for those of you that have seen the movie already, you already know what it's about. For those of you who haven't, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Toy Story 2 sees Woody being stolen from his home by toy dealer Al McGuigan, leaving Buzz Lightyear and the rest of the gang to try to rescue him. But when Woody discovers that he's actually a valuable collectible from a once popular TV show called Woody's Roundup and is reunited with his horse Bullseye, Jessie the yodeling cowgirl, and his faithful sidekick Stinky Pete the prospector, he does not want to leave. So here's my take on the story. Toy Story 2 never disappoints as a sequel because it simply takes some aspects from the first movie and either makes it better or plays off of it. From the adventure and the danger that the toys find themselves in, or the role reversal that we get to see play out by Woody and Buzz. The story goes even further into the idea of where your heart and soul truly lies, which begs the question, is it better to be a toy or a collector's item? Because only one of those things gets used. There are a lot of fun and iconic moments and pop culture references that made this Pixar movie stand out among the earlier films, like Jessie's emotional backstory, a cameo by the Rock'em Sock'em Robots. If you're familiar with those toys, you know what I'm talking about, but if you're not, it's a very popular old school toy. I'm sure you're familiar with how there's a red one, there's a blue one, they hit each other. The opening act of the film that sees Buzz and Lightyear in action against Zurg, which is the fantasy that we see play out in the first Toy Story that made him delusional, or Disney making a few references about themselves in their own theme park. One of the few things that made Toy Story sequel so great was the height of the stakes of Woody being taken to a museum in Japan. And the thing that raises the stakes is that he would be far from his owner Andy. Toy Story 2 even goes far to raise the fact that toys don't last forever, which we all know that. I mean, we've had a childhood where we either like it or we don't. We've had the fun moments and we wish they would have lasted longer. So as a kid, it is important to cherish every playtime you have with your favorite action figure, doll, or toy set, whatever one you had when you were young. But this aspect will become very thought-provoking in the next entry of the Toy Story franchise, which I cannot wait to get. That's going to be way long. My take on the characters. So I already mentioned this in my Toy Story review, saying the first one. I did say that the original characters in the first Toy Story, which are Woody, Buzz, Rex, Slinky Dog, Potato Head, Ham, etc., are so iconic. The first movie allowed us to get to know each of these toys and their personality and how they operate before Pixar decided to truly play with them in this story. In the first Toy Story, we saw the kind of role that Woody and Buzz were playing, with Woody being a self-actualized toy and a leader and sheriff of the Toy Box crew, which include him, the closer toys, and the other ones, while Buzz was being a delusional space ranger, which is kind of what we see play off again with Buzz making fun of himself. The sequel simply sees them trading places, with Buzz being the rescuer and the reminder of who they are and where they truly lie, and Woody being the one caught up in his own fame. This aspect feels important for both of the characters because it allowed them to be in each other's shoes for a while and get the feel of what it's like to know that you are just a toy, or you feel like you are on top of the world in fame. Toy Story 2 introduces us to the cowgirl Jessie, who will go on to be the second supporting character in this franchise, to be a prominent character. And she was quite interesting in this movie. We were quickly absorbed to Jessie's cowgirl charisma, with how excited she was with Woody being included in the Roundup gang, and then we quickly learned her claustrophobia, or just her fear of being forgotten. And this is where we held on to her when we started to learn her background, which helped Woody and the audience to sympathize with her. But whether you look at her background story as from the scope of a toy or a human, you still get emotional. You still naturally get the feels because we all have experienced the feeling of being forgotten or being tossed on the shelf. And speaking of being tossed on the shelf, the third Pixar villain, Stinky Pete the Prospector, is the first Toy Story villain that is not only another toy, but makes it clear on what it is like to become the product of being thrown away or replaced. I think Stinky Pete is pretty much an underrated villain because he's not only one of the earlier Pixar villains. Like, Pixar villains are so compelling because they are justifiable like the Marvel villains in the MCU, like I said. But this is one of the first instances where Pixar shows off their skills of revealing who is secretly playing the antagonist. Because most Pixar films and Disney films, you can directly identify who the villain is based on you can just know by looking at him. But some Pixar movies kind of wait and lead up to that twist to kind of surprise you, and that's what I like to see. So he's willing to use Woody to get the entire Roundup gang, or himself especially, the attention that he sorely craves. And that scene where Stinky Pete, the prospector, was telling the toys where they would end up is this brilliant foreshadowing of what we would see in the next film, saying they would end up in a landfill. And the continuity stuck because it became such a serious it became a serious metaphor of saying how toys really don't last forever. Rotten Tomatoes gives Toy Story 3 yet another perfect score, 100%. Toy Story 2 not only amplifies on everything the first movie did by making the adventure bigger, stakes higher, catchier jokes, and fun references, but it helped us to see both ends of the spectrum with our two main characters and the deeper insight into self-identity and where your heart should be placed. So I will give this movie 9.3 SOs out of 10. So that is my review on the Toy Story sequel. You can let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. And we recently just had the 25th anniversary of the first Toy Story just passed. I think it was on Saturday or Sunday. But how do you feel about these Toy Story movies? Like, I know we haven't even gotten to 3 or 4, but how do you feel about the whole franchise, period? Like, is it your favorite Pixar franchise, or is it your favorite animated franchise in general? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with my next episode on Way Back Wednesday. Bye.